Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today, we are talking about niches within niches and how you can find riches within niches within niches. Angela Meharg is on. Ran across her. She was actually signed up for one of my newsletters, Lead Magnets, years ago, and reached out to her. Just an interesting background. I actually interviewed her as well for the CRM Sushi podcast. That'll be released right along with this. So, interesting lady, interesting background. Career took a different path because she saw an opportunity and she seized it. So, you're going to have a lot to learn and get inspired with on this story. If you need a little more inspiration, a little one-on-one, a little kick in the pants, a little shot in the arm, whatever you want to call it, check out digdeep.today. It's private, recorded, one-on-one, digging deep with me, helping you nail things down, get clarity on your buying personas, on your lead magnets, on your sequences, on your Facebook ads, on your automation sequences, landing pages, you name it. We can knock it out quickly. Digdeep.today. And as I keep mentioning, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm going to raise the price and or change the Make Every Sale course to an annual subscription. But those that are in now, before I do that, will have lifetime access. MakeEverySale.com. 60-plus page workbook. 3 out of 4 weeks. We're on a live recorded interactive call. Private Facebook group templates, getting great feedback. People love that kind of access and inspiration. So MakeEverySale.com. Get into one of those now, would you please? You have a money-back guarantee. So what do you have to lose except the confusion? So now let's bring on our guest. Angela Meharg, all the way from Toronto, back again. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
Hey, Wes, I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you today?
I'm good. But hey, I'll ask the questions here.
Oh, okay.
Turn this thing around on me, man. People, I don't know what to do with y'all. So I say back again. Our listeners that have been listening to the Sales Podcast are like, did I miss an episode? No. Angela was on the CRM Sushi podcast, and we were talking about her company, Datisfy. She corrected me. It's not Datisfy. So it looks like Satisfy, but it has a D. So Angela is knee deep into QuickBooks, and she calls herself the Crystal Reports Goddess. So explain that for me, will you? Will you please elaborate? What the heck does that mean?
Oh, sure. A little backstory. It's really funny. I studied music when I went to university.
Oh,
I know. I know there's just a direct correlation there.
Music to QuickBooks. Got it.
Yeah. But I always loved computers. Like I had my first Mac at 16 years old, and I was always doing stuff with the computer and went to computer coding camp when I was like 13. So I've always been into it. And then, when the book Microserfs came out in the 90s by Douglas Copeland, he's the guy who wrote Generation X and Shampoo Planet, another Canadian author. I wanted desperately to work for Microsoft or a software company. And I went back to school so I could actually have some specialized knowledge in computing. And I got a job at Seagate Software. They made Crystal Reports. And I did tech support. So that's how I learned the application. It's a really good way to learn how to do something in the computing world, is to learn how to support problems with it. But after about 18 months, I got antsy and I wanted to do my own thing. So, what people who think they can do things better, I left and became a freelance reporting specialist. So in November, I had my 20th anniversary of using Crystal Reports. So it's not new, sexy software, but it is the industry standard. It's behind a lot of data that you'll see on different invoices and things you get in the mail daily. But you don't know that that's what's producing that report. So that's what I have done. I've worked all over the world. I've been independent. And after a few years of doing that, it was kind of a cheeky thing to call myself the Crystal Reports Goddess, but I did. And then a former boyfriend went ahead and registered the URL for me. And I thought, well, heck, I might as well just run with it. And that made it more official, and kept doing that. That was about 2009. And so I kept doing that and more Crystal Reports and all different things. And I was getting bored with my career. I'm like, can I keep doing this the rest of my life? And as I got older, I turned over 40, and I'm like, I can't sit in a chair all day anymore. I need to build a business to free me up a little bit instead of being the person who does all the work and the programming and all that. And I was doing a business course at the time. And one of the things we said is, how specialized can you make your offer? How focused can you make your solution? And I was looking for a solution, and this whole QuickBooks thing came up as a really, as a strong possibility. And that's how we got to Datisfy. I can elaborate on that more a little bit later if you like, but that's the Crystal Reports Goddess thing. I figure, yeah, it's cheeky, but you cannot be so arrogant as to call yourself the goddess of something unless you're actually competent. So I figured I could get away with it.
There you go. So let's go back to that. How specific can you make your offer? So what is that, the old adage, there's riches and niches?
Yes.
Okay.
I was doing this business curriculum, and one of the things that they talked about is your identity, your career is actually different from the work you do and the money you make. It's actually a very distinct thing. So they talk about your career being the help that you're known for providing. And if you're a generalist, it's really hard to be known for something. If you're a specialist, it's much easier to be known for something and to have people think of you when that problem or that special something comes up. And it's very, very profitable. And it's been the more specialized we get and more focused we get in turning away things we don't want to do anymore and don't lie inside of our specialized area, the more profitable and better known we get. So it's proven.
Right.
Yeah.
So for 20 years or for, 17 or 18 years, however long it was it just you, just like a solo freelancer doing coding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you grow? Who was the first person you hired?
The first person I hired was someone I had worked with at Seagate Software.
Oh, wow.
21 years ago.
Had y'all just remained friends, or was it happenstance?
Well, it was more like social media kept us in touch. Like former workers we'd stay in a group and that sort of thing, then Facebook. So yes, social media has really enabled those kinds of connections to remain viable and meaningful, really. And so Catherine was the first one. And then the second two were two more people that we all worked with together at Seagate Software. We've all stayed in that domain all of our career. It has been an amazing thing to attach our career to. You don't usually get that much distance out of a single software application.
Now, so the first person though, how did you know what you needed? Was this person admin? Was this person like a hardcore coder that you could offload work to so you could focus on marketing? How did you decide like that division of labor?
Oh, that is a good question. Because the truth is, I just knew I needed help. I didn't know what help I needed.
Yeah.
And I actually, it turned out not to be quite the right fit, but she was so great in working back and forth until we realized it's not what she wanted and it wasn't what I needed. So we had a fantastically amicable, parting of the ways. She went on to a great job that she still has at Tableau, which is all the visualization software. And then that whole experience, those 10 months together, allowed me to get really well-defined about what is the role I need to fill. What are the specific things I need to be able to ask of someone? And can they just pick up that ball and run with it? And the two guys that I hired then, Keith and Peter, I mean, they're all contractors. They're not employees. Can't go quite there yet, but it worked for them to do it this way too. And I could be really specific, and then they could go, yep, I can do that. And that's what I want to do. Right. And so that's how it's grown. And hiring two and training two at the same time was really, really effective.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because they could be help to each other and go through part of the process together. And it was a better use of my own time of the training. Because I did develop a training curriculum because I realized what I hadn't done with Catherine.
Right. Well, I always tell business owners, if they can, hire two salespeople at the same time.
Yes.
And if for similar reasons, but for different reasons as well, salespeople are competitive beasts.
Yes.
Right? You want them competitive. You want them looking over their shoulder saying, how's he doing? How's she doing? Oh, wow. She's up $100 on me. I got to make one more call. I got to close one more sale,
Yeah.
Because you never know who's going to work out. And so I'm always telling business owners that you're always recruiting.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't mean you're always hiring, but you're always recruiting. And so when you find a superstar, you can identify them, you'll recognize it, and then make room.
Yes.
Right. So
for sure.
So that's interesting. But still, were these people, were they like hands-on technical people?
Yes.
That you could give the work to?
Yes.
And so
with very strong customer service skills.
Okay.
Because we're small, they don't have anyone else in between. They need to know how to work with a customer to really listen to what the end user wants. What does the customer really want? And then to translate that into a technical work of art, really.
So how do you get a coder developer type with people skills? Like, are you stupid? Is your computer even plugged in? I can't talk to you. I mean, that's usual to your tech support people.
That's a good question. I mean, the fact that I had been friends with these guys and I've watched them in different environments over a period of time, that was easy.
Right.
I've worked with them all. That was easy. I've never hired somebody I've never worked with. So I have to say I'm lucky in that regard.
Right.
What's harder for me is probably a lot of your listeners have listened or read the E-Myth or the E-Myth Revisited. And I definitely fall into that category called a technician trying to start his or her own business.
Right.
And then I'm really definitely at the stage of finding ways to replace myself in the various roles and tasks that I have to take on.
Right. So how do you do that? Because when that's your baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 15, 17, 20 years, I got to imagine you're kind of good at this. You have your particular ways. You recognize when there's a colon instead of a semicolon, and can find those bugs. And then you're like, here.
I know. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, don't just watch my baby. Load my baby in a car seat, drive her over to Disneyland, and y'all hang out for 3 days. And I trust that you're going to feed her, bathe her, clothe her, not get her sick on too much cotton candy, and bring her home and not get in a wreck. I mean, that's a tall order. It
is. It is. It will be challenging to expand further because I'm, for sure I'm a bit of a control freak. I can't deny that fact. I have very high standards but that was the point. My own financial aims I was my own cap on my financial aims. You can only work so many hours in a day and you can only raise your project fees so much. I was never going to reach my financial aims unless I could have other people do the work, right. Really. And just, it's more leverage. And truth be told, it's actually more fun. I'm having more fun now because my team members are so good that I just trust them. I have fun with them. I learn from them and they learn from me. We're very collaborative in our learning together, sharing of information.
Are you all local? Do you meet face to face?
Never. We are all remote. And we almost never meet our customers in person either, which is weird. I mean, that's been quite a transition over the last 20 years. It used to be, even up till I'd say 8 years ago, customers preferred you to come on site. they wanted to see you and they wanted to know that the work was being done. But there's a cost to having that real estate, that equipment available for someone who isn't a full-time employee producing all the time.
Right.
And so now with all the technology we have, we don't need to, and we don't go to our customer sites. I drop in if I'm in their area.
Sure.
But because I like to shake somebody's hand. It's meaningful to look someone in the eye and say, hey, how is it working for you? And they're like, we love it. And that makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so pretty. They always want me to come over, and I just tell them I can't do it. I got to milk the cows and get the chickens. I can't come see you. Kind of hurts their feelings, but I mean, you know how it is. But sometimes you got to tell them no.
It's true.
I know. So I love that they are remote. That's cool. How do y'all communicate? How do you stay in touch? Do you have project management software? You know, are you using Slack? I mean, how do you stay on top of things?
We are using Slack. Slack is the best thing since sliced bread. Like the fact that my inbox doesn't get filled up with every single little thing regarding all manner of customer incident, like issues in everything's divided into its own customer channel. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. We use Google business stuff. So we use Google Drive for all the file sharing. And I've been experimenting with project management software because we don't have a project manager. And I think it might be good to have a part-time project manager because that would eliminate that kind of day-to-day stuff. But we've experimented with Priority Matrix. I quite like that for some reasons. Experimenting with Asana right now, which I like more for other reasons. So we've been trying different things, but for sure we could not function without Slack.
Yeah. Yeah, we use Slack. We use Asana.
We use Priority Matrix. It's kind of cool. It has these 4 quadrants that you divide your, where you do critical and
right.
important and all the way around. But you can rename the quadrants. So I tried this thing from Getting Things Done, good old David Allen. I made the quadrant 1 was next action only. Like, so you really have to think, what is your next action in this one project?
Right.
So, and then you could look at a report of only next actions for all customers or all projects.
Right.
So that was kind of cool, but there's no way to do subtasks and things like that. So it's not as viable for what we need it for.
Yeah, I just pulled them up. So that's from AppFluence, is that right?
Yes, it is. And they're their support is phenomenal. They're super responsive. They even sent me a gift once, the book by the author of The Power of Habit, his book after that book. So they've been great software vendors.
Now, are they free with a premium upgrade sort of thing like Asana?
I think so. We did the trial for a while, but then I did subscribe. I'm probably not going to renew it this year because we're still trying to find the right tool for us. But that's fine.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we've used it for a couple of years.
So that's from the Getting Things Done guy?
Yeah. Do you know him, David Allen? Of him?
Yeah, not. I've read some of his stuff. I think I've more like perused and heard others talk about it. I need to go check that out.
It's kind of, he's like the original productivity guy.
Right.
His book came out, I think, in the 90s. And that was before we had all these software applications to use as tools. And that's one of the things that frustrated me about his book is like, well, I use Evernote, but so now there's tons of people using his methodologies with different technologies, and they'll do videos and all kinds of stuff on YouTube to show you how you can use it and use his approach.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Getting Things Done, the art of stress-free productivity. Maybe I should read that now.
It's a good read. A good companion book to go with that is The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Yeah, I did read that. Actually, I used to live in Austin, and I knew the the Williams of Keller Williams.
Yes.
And it's kind of a sad story. He actually showed us around when we were looking for houses, my wife and I. It's kind of sad to think of how much he walked away from by selling the shares, his portion of the business. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
He should have kept that.
Even as a silent partner, keep a piece of that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But, oh well, I digress. Right. Hold on. What was the story? Wasn't it, was it Domino's? I think Domino's Pizza. Like he sold, like one of the partners like sold their shares for like, I don't know, a little bit of money in a Volkswagen, or it might have been one of the Apple. I don't think it was the early Apple founders. I don't know. I think it was Domino's. But like, yeah, that Volkswagen has cost you like $1 billion, you know. But I mean, you don't know. You don't know when you're going through all that.
Yeah.
So is it all word of mouth for you now because you've just done it for so long? Or are you doing some proactive, outreach to drum up business?
Oh, yes. Well, to date, so DataSpy was formed officially June 13th, 2014. So we've just passed our third year end.
Okay.
And it's still in the low 6 figures revenue wise. But, oh wait, what was your question? I've lost track.
Talking about marketing. How do you do
Oh, marketing. Yeah. So a really neat thing. So when I came to find out about I should say what DataSpy does, because we really haven't talked about that piece yet. I think it's relevant.
Oh, we will. We'll link to it. You're the QuickBooks guru for making crystal reports and QuickBooks and everything work for small business. Is that right?
Yeah, we do, and all we do is custom reports for QuickBooks Desktop.
Okay.
And stuff that QuickBooks literally can't even spit out, even though the data's in there. So,
and the nice thing, and I encourage everyone to go listen to and watch her demo on the CRM Sushi podcast. But she's not one of those that sink her hooks into you and bleed you dry for an eternity, right? Because you're saying a lot of your projects are one-off. You create the code and basically they own it and it runs for a long time, if not forever, right?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we've been experimenting. Pricing model is definitely a challenge. Service industry is a challenge for professional services for revenue, because we constantly do have to get new customers and new revenue, because once we've data-spied a customer, they often don't need anything beyond that. Sometimes we do a single report. That's all they want, and they are thrilled. Right. And some we do ongoing things as they get to know their business and want to ask different questions of their data.
Right.
But for marketing, when we started, we found this tool called QCube for QuickBooks. Right. And it's a data warehouse that extracts the data from QuickBooks, improves its structure, and drops it into a separate data warehouse. And that's what we connect to, which you can connect to with Excel, Microsoft Access, or any other SQL-based tool to get at your data and do something with it. And it's organized into subject areas, which QuickBooks data itself is not well organized under the hood. So when I saw this, it was an instant recognition of, wow, that's an opportunity. Right. That's a focus. That's a niche, because there are about 4 million installations of QuickBooks Desktop in the U.S.
Wow.
And about 10% of those are QuickBooks Enterprise. And we do work best with QuickBooks Enterprise customers, but we've worked with all customers. If they need the data, we can get it for them. Right. But that's a sizable market, and it's precise. It's limited, right? You could say the word QuickBooks, and if people's eyes glaze over, you don't have to keep talking.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. But for marketing, we are a certified solution partner now for QCube for QuickBooks. Okay. And a lot of people, when they are frustrated by using QuickBooks and they can't get the reports they need the way they need them, they'll go looking for a solution. So anyone who comes to us is either a referral directly from Clarify, the company that makes QQ, or they found a blog post that I wrote about it.
Right.
That's basically it. It's all been inbound. Now I'm starting an outbound kind of an outreach model, because the best sort of referral partners for us, the best access to finding customers who actually need what we do is with QuickBooks Pro advisors, bookkeepers, and accountants.
Okay.
Because they're the ones who are dealing with the customers who are already using it, especially the QuickBooks Certified Pro advisors. So I'm in the midst of developing an alliance, a referral program. I don't really know yet how it's going to be fully formulated, but that's the next thing for us to focus on.
Now, are you finding, like when you blog, is it super specific? Do you find like one little thing and go deep on that subject, or basically answering questions that you may get all the time and do a simple post about that? Are they like very elaborate, or a little simpler and you try to do them more often?
It's varied. It's hard to find the time to sit down and write, but I've made a project earlier this year. I banged out a whole bunch of them, which was great. And some of them really got some traction. I do things that are sometimes a little more general. So the last sort of one that made the biggest splash this year was titled 6 Reasons Dashboards Don't Work and What to Do About It. Because when a business owner hears the word dashboard, they think, oh, I need one of those. Because they'd like to have these key performance indicators easily accessible, something that can help them make better decisions. They'd like to have that right in front of them. Right. But there is a well-designed dashboard is one that you can look at any kind of gauge, any kind of measurement, visualization of your business. And you should be able to know what action to take based on what you see.
Right.
That's a well-designed dashboard component. And it is not easy to do. It takes a ton of thinking. Your data has to be in really good, clean form. Anyway, I ranted about, my blog was a rant.
Right.
But it's a good rant, and it helps people direct their thinking.
Right.
And mostly hire a flippin' consultant who has gone through that thinking and can guide you.
Now,
because it's hard work.
So on those posts, so you talked about banging them out. Did you then queue them up and like release them, once a week, twice a week over time, or did you just publish them all?
No, I tried to space them out.
Right. Good.
Yeah. Here's another thing. I'm about to publish another one, and it has to do with your company name or a product name. So when I used to be the I'm still that, the Crystal Reports goddess, but I'm trying to move away from that as a personal brand to Datisfy as an enterprise brand, because I knew that as a personal brand, it's cheeky and it's fun, but it's not enterprise level. That's not going to work.
Right.
And so I thought, you know what? I need to come up with a good name, but I don't have the skills to come up with a good name. So I hired a guy who was a naming specialist.
Oh.
And he came up with the name and the tagline. And he came up with Datisfy. He drew that out of words I'd said. I said, hey, I like to help small business owners satisfy their why. He wrote those keywords down and came up with Datisfy, and we were shocked that it wasn't in use already. And then the tagline that he came up with is do what counts. So we like to, whatever I'm writing is going to be consistent with that. It'll help people to focus on doing what counts, making good use of their time, not doing stuff that's a waste of their time. So it can fall into, my blog posts can fall into a lot more general areas because of that. So,
man, maybe I should call myself a naming specialist.
Do you whip up good names?
I got to look up it. Yeah, I always have. That's kind of interesting. I didn't know that was a category.
Well, see, that's the thing. If another great book to read is The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing by Al Rees.
Okay.
and Jack Trout. It's old. It's from the early 90s or even late 80s. But one of the things he talks about is categories. If you can't be first in a category, specialize more and make up your own category in the marketplace.
Yeah, basically the red ocean, blue ocean sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That one is good. I still hear them and see them everywhere. So I'll make sure and link to that. So what are you seeing now in business? So you're talking about trends. Customers used to always want to see you in person. Now you never see them in person. You used to work in person with your staff. Now everybody's virtual. What are you seeing? Because you're talking about doing more outbound type marketing. So how are you seeing that shift moving forward?
Well, fundamentally, people still do business with people. You don't do business with a company, right? So you do have to become known as a person, and you have to get to know people. So there's no less importance, as far as I see it, in that regard. So one of the things that I just did a few weeks ago, I attended a conference for QuickBooks Pro Advisors and bookkeepers, and it's called Scaling New Heights, and it's put on by a group called the Woodard Group. And they're all about empowering bookkeepers and pro advisors to empower business owners. And so I thought, well, it's a good place. That's who I need to know. So attending those kinds of things, and I actually got to speak at this conference, which was a huge deal for me.
It's huge for anybody. I mean,
go
speak.
Yes.
And so how did you get that speaking gig? Because people are always asking me the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I attended the same conference last year as an experiment. I wanted to go and check out the landscape. You have to check out the environment, the community, the ecology of wherever it is that you want to be operating. And you got to just be there. You got to listen, and you mostly just listen. But I asked, who do I need to talk to so I can speak there next year? And I shook her hand. She had no recollection of this as we looked back. I submitted a proposal for a few different topics. And I also made a point of trying to be what I call a low-cost transaction for them. I took the burden of all the work away from them, meaning I came up with the titles for my proposed topics. I gave them good outlines. And at first they didn't accept my proposal. And they didn't even really get back to me. But then a colleague said, "Hey, I was just accepted to speak." I'm like, "Hey, do you have any sway with Carol?" And the next morning I had an email from Carol revisiting my proposal and saying, "Hey, we don't want those topics, but what about this one?"
Nice.
And she and I got connected, and now we are kindred spirits. So she's already said informally, "Hey, we want you to talk on the topics you actually want to talk on next year."
Yeah.
So that was how we did that.
Is it one of those where they actually pay you to speak, or is it?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was so impressed with how they managed the whole conference. They had us submit outlines by X date. They had really hard deadlines. They had, "I want your PowerPoint presentation by this, and here's the format you need to use. And we want 5 tweets that we're going to use on your behalf to promote your session." And everything was so well organized, and they paid us for the session, plus refunded our conference tuition and one night's hotel accommodation.
Yeah, nice.
It was really generous.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times, they'll give you a free ticket to the event, of course. Sometimes I'll see them pay for lodging. Sometimes they'll pay for all travel, and then eventually, if you're really doing it right, they'll pay you as well.
Yeah.
And I ask this because things are not what they always appear to be. And, people listening to this, at a minimum, do what you can to get on stage. Being on stage for 15 minutes can oftentimes beat paying to have a booth.
Yes.
Right. And being on stage for an hour beats being on stage for 15 minutes. Speaking on stage for free beats paying, to be there. And of course, if you can get paid, then by all means do that as well. the interesting thing, though, is the more, if you're up there for free, that gives you a little bit more leeway to make some type of offer or do some type of opt-in. Now, usually as well, they may be a little stricter on that. The conference, people don't want to be pitched. But you can always, think about how to get an opt-in, how to give away something for free to get people to opt in. So there's ways you can do it, but that's awesome though.
There was another conference that I had also attended last year as an investigation experiment. And the owner said, yeah, I want you next year. And when it came time to get a commitment out of it, it was actually a sponsorship where I would have to pay. And I said, look, I have limited resources for that. I don't have the $6,000 for that, but I can give you $1,000 because I know you have costs, and I can trade you something. I know your customers need what I do. Let's do a trade for the balance. You'll still get the cash, but it'll be from the customer.
Right.
And so if you get a little creative, that can also be an opportunity. Offsets your own costs, makes sure they're taken care of. And she loved that. Now they ended up having to cancel that one, unfortunately, the whole conference. Yeah. But I'm in there for the future if they decide to. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, a lot of times I see people, they get a booth at a trade show and they don't know what to do with it. So, just because you have a booth doesn't mean people will come flocking to you.
Tell you what, trade shows are hard. Booths are hard work. They cost a lot of money at least to make them look decent. And then the hours of standing there, whether it's you or paying somebody else to do it, it may not be the best use of your limited resources.
Right.
Attending is good.
Yeah.
Following up with people afterward is great.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Amen. All right. Well, now I like to ask my guests that one last question. Imagine our listeners they're on a bike, they're on a plane, on a treadmill. They can't do anything right this second, but what should they do as a result of listening to this? What should they go implement to grow their business? What's that one piece of advice you either wish you had or that you follow that's made a difference?
Well, I'm going to say something that's related to what we do but it can be translated or correlated to any business, especially if you have employees, but not necessarily. So with QuickBooks Desktop, and it could be the same for any kind of accounting software, sometimes you can't get what you need in terms of the numbers. You can't get them out of the system, and what you end up doing is exporting to Excel. Or someone on your team is exporting to Excel because you said, hey, can you get me that report? And you don't know how much time is being spent on something that should be automated.
Right.
Or you're doing it, and it's just a really bad use of your time because you're the business owner. What are you doing? Yeah. Why are you doing that? So invest a little bit in automating stuff that should be automated. You should not be manually putting together financials ever. It's also a fraud risk, and it's rife with errors, but that's a whole other conversation. Just stop wasting your time.
Right.
You don't have that kind of time.
Yep.
Time is your mental energy also gets totally spent. So look for places to automate. That would be the number one thing I would say out of this conversation.
Yeah. Amen. I came up with that tagline for Infusionsoft years ago: automate, integrate, dominate.
Ooh. I like it.
See, I should be like a naming specialist.
You should.
All right. Very nice. We will link out to you, datispy.com. Angela Meharg, all the way from Toronto. Thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast. It's been great.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you so much, Wes.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
You've had a naming specialist right here in your midst for 270 episodes. Didn't even know it, did you? Uh-huh. That's the kind of stuff I just come up with right off the cuff because I've been doing it for so long. It's the kind of help I can give you in the Make Every Sale course. Come hang out with us. Hope you like this interview. Angela is, what you see is what you get, right? She's a straight shooter, honest, very modest, humble, and but she's built a nice business. Not Forbes richest 100, right? But a nice business that she's growing because she followed the scent, right? She got on the trail and she followed it, and she niched some more. So, and you'll always hear me say both sides of the story, right? On the one hand, it's good to go broad. I shared a post on Facebook recently about Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's now have K-Cups, right? The Keurig coffee on grocery store shelves. So they're going far and wide. But you know what? McDonald's just sold hamburgers and French fries and malts and syrupy soda water for decades before they got into chicken sandwiches and fish sandwiches and salads and yogurt and now K-Cups. So first you have to dig deep. Too many people are an inch deep and 27 miles wide. You can't get anywhere by finishing, 30%, 50%, 80% of a program and never applying it. Finishing 3 chapters of a book and then not applying it. Not finishing the whole book, right? Going to conferences and getting hung over, not going to the sessions, not learning, not networking, not learning, so you can't apply anything. That doesn't cut it. So first, find out what you're good at. People, I tell them the kind of money I make residually, and they're jealous, right? I'm like, well, you dig in, right? Work on this for, 12, 14, 16 hours a day for many years. Call support 8, 10, 12, 15 times a day for years, right? Write blog posts and screen shares and tutorials, dozens and dozens, over 100 now. Write a 700-page book, and you'll get good at it. And when you get good at something, people will come to you, and you'll make money. Yeah, really simple, right? Nobody wants to stick with anything. So follow Angela's example. Dig deep. Go deep. Then go wide. So if you need help going deep, and you do, we all do. I have coaches. I have multiple coaches. Every year that I've spent at least $10,000 investing in myself, I've grown. I've grown a lot. So I'm spending that kind of money right now, bringing in experts, surrounding myself with people that can help me become a better me. So I'm offering you 2 opportunities with digdeep.today for a little one-on-one, shot in the arm, and then the Make Every Sale course, makeeverysale.com. People are setting records. I just had a guy actually on Sunday. So I'm recording this final outro here on July 19th. I got a message in the Make Every Sale course on the 16th, which was a Sunday, that David had already beaten his. It was a record month, and it was only halfway through the month. So that's the kind of results people are having. So avail yourself of the opportunity to lock in lifetime pricing. MakeEverySale.com. Won't you? Thanks for listening. Please share this. Leave a comment. Give us a 5-star review. And now, go sell something.